Now we're halfway through the British general election campaign, and the Prime Minister has said his governing Conservatives are fighting for every vote. Rishi Sunak's comments come after one opinion poll put the right-wing Reform Party ahead of the Conservatives. It set tongues wagging in the Parliament of Westminster and beyond. Correspondents say the main opposition Labour Party still has a great whacking lead over the Conservatives, who just don't seem able to do anything to dent their unpopularity. Well, for more on this, let's cross live to London and speak to Arise correspondent Lape Olarinoye. Good to see you, Lape. So what should we make of this opinion poll that's put the Reform Party ahead of the Conservatives? I imagine the Conservatives are quite shaken, perhaps even terrified.
It's yet again, Charles, another nail in the coffin for the incumbent Conservative Party, and it's one that shouldn't really be ignored, particularly because this Reform Party, as you probably know, but for our viewers to understand more clearly, is a party that has constantly changed its branding and its outward look. It was once the UKIP party during the referendum, which resulted in Brexit. They later changed to Brexit Party under the leadership of controversial leader Nigel Farage, and it's now today the Reform Party. This election, unlike the last election, they're contesting all over England and Wales, so their presence and their prominence is very much known across the country. Now, in terms of do they stand fit as a opposition to the Conservatives, this is where the other side of your question comes in, which is opinion polls are sometimes can be a clear reflection of what the electorate may do, but it's not always to be taken seriously, particularly in this case where the Reform edging forward ahead of the Conservatives. It's only one poll that's saying that. It's not several polls, which is the picture for the Labour Party. Is several polls saying that the mood across the nation is that the Labour Party could potentially win this election. But for the Conservatives, who have been the main opposition and of course the incumbent this time around, it's yet again another blow, particularly because if we cast our minds back to during the referendum, this same Reform, formerly UKIP party, were the reason why the country went to the referendum, and they were a driving force for why the country voted Brexit. So it depends on how you look at it. Some people aren't taking polls seriously, but on the other hand, it says a lot about the future of the Conservative Party.
Indeed, but to perhaps put it as bluntly as possible, I mean, the more the pro-Brexit Reform Party goes up, along with its leader Nigel Farage, the more that splits the vote of the right in British politics. And if this continues, I mean, it could make the difference, couldn't it, between the Conservatives having a very unpleasant time on July the 4th, which is election day, and something truly catastrophic.
That's certainly correct. The Conservatives' strategy during this whole campaign period has been really to keep as many votes as possible and not lose a lot of their votes to parties like Reform. This has happened in the past. It was, of course, very much indicative during the local elections that if the Conservative continues to lose seats to Reform or gain more popularity, lose popularity to the Reform Party, it could be quite deadly for the Conservative Party, especially if they're headed for a loss. This afternoon, Nigel Farage, the leader of the Reform Party, has come out to say that the Conservatives are no longer the main opposition, if you like, and that now it's probably looking like the Reform Party. That, of course, is too early to say. The country hasn't officially gone to the polls, and so that is not completely reflective. But in terms of their chances of winning, that is the Conservative Party, losing more popularity to the Reform Party, losing seats and potential votes will divvy up how people vote, and would also, like I said, make the loss of the Conservatives, if it happens, a lot worse than it would be if it was just going head to head with the Labour Party. But the overarching theme here, Charles, is that the outliers like the Reform Party and even the Liberal Democrats on the left or on the centre left even should not really be overlooked in this election, particularly because this whole picture, the polls, the way in which people are speaking is very reflective of the mood of the country and how they feel about the incumbent governing party, the Conservative Party.
Absolutely, that's a good point you make there. And what about the Labour Party? I mean, is the Reform Party and Nigel Farage a threat to them at all in this election? Or is the primary threat splitting the vote on the right and therefore taking votes away from the Conservatives?
Well, so far, Charles, in answer to your question, it's more focused and directed at splitting the votes. Currently, the Labour Party, if we look at all of the polls, not just one poll, they are still very much ahead of the Conservative Party and the Reform Party. That being said, they have reduced a lot of their popularity in the last 48 hours, going from about 50 or so percent to about 41% as a result of more people now edging towards the Reform Party. But it's still a huge difference. The Reform Party is said to be on one poll 19% ahead, 1% ahead from the Conservative Party. So the numbers don't tend to lie, but it's not completely accurate. Like I said, the mood of the country is very much turbulent at the moment. Anything can happen at the polls. We've seen this before during the referendum, where nobody knew which way it was going to go. And in a shock result, it went in the favour of people that wanted for Brexit to happen. And so polls are good in terms of looking forward to an election, but they're not completely accurate. So for the Labour Party, they're still miles ahead of the Reform Party. The main news here with the Reform Party becoming more popular is that actually they're dividing the votes of the main opposition, which is the Conservative Party. And also it's very telling of how people feel in this country and how people are thinking. And there are a few policies that indicate why people are becoming more familiar or want popularity for the Reform Party.
Very interesting indeed. The rather boring British elections is suddenly sounding sort of almost exciting. Lape, thanks very much indeed. Lape Olarinoye is a Rice correspondent. She was talking to me there on the line from London.